Hello, and welcome to the Season 1 season finale of the You Talk, We Listen podcast. Now, before this podcast episode begins, I do want to give a warning. The podcast consists of 2 interviews, and the second one does deal with disturbing themes. If at all you're debilitated or heavily disturbed by themes of sexual assault or sexual abuse, I will advise you to caution listening to this episode or even just outright skip it. The interview was phenomenal. I just want to give that warning before you listen. Now, if you also do listen to the interview and hear a lot of censoring, that was under the discretion of the person we interviewed. I heavily worked with her to see what she was comfortable with, and this was the final product we landed on. Now, besides this warning, I just want to give my thanks to everyone we interviewed for this interview and also all our interviews. You allowed this podcast to be a thing because of it, and I'm greatly indebted to you guys. And also, it was just phenomenal to meet everyone that I was able to meet because of this thing. I never thought I would gather as much support, for a goofy little podcast. So my heart is extremely humbled. And I'm also humbled and indebted to you, the listener. I greatly appreciate you guys for sticking with me this far. And I never thought, again, I would be at least not like successful. I don't have like 1 billion listens, but have a small group of people that just appreciate the podcast. Also, thank you WXOU for allowing us to tag along with your program. You guys are amazing and I greatly appreciate you. Now with that, thank you for listening and I hope you tune in next time if there is one. I have no intro for this episode. My name's Kyle. I'm the host of the You Talk, We Listen podcast, and today I'm joined by
Mina.
Again. Mina, pleasure to have you as always. How are you doing?
Pleasure to be here. Doing great.
And Mina, what's the episode topic for today?
What is the biggest obstacle that you've overcame?
And we already have someone in the chair. What is your name?
My name is Hannah.
And Hannah, what is the biggest obstacle that you overcame?
Other than being called Hannah Montana, I think the biggest thing that I overcame, I'm still trying to do it now. I think it's more of being okay with not being okay. Because look, I'm the oldest sister over 10 million kids. My parents did not wait at all. But with that, I always had to try to have a safe face, a strong face and not appear weak. But ever since I've been, not only getting to this fantastic relationship I am in now, but also just, actually growing up and seeing the people around me, be honest with themselves. It's really hard to kind of put away that strong persona because it may seem like otherwise, but apparently I have a lot of anxiety that I didn't even know about because I've been pushing it to the back burner. But now I'm kind of just trying to take it slow, being okay with not being okay. Again, I think that's one of the hardest things because you don't want to appear weak and act like you don't need help when in reality we all need a lot of help. So,
yeah. Do you think it's easier to put up that persona when you're with your family as opposed to with your friends?
I think it's easier, but I think because I'm so self-aware, it's also hard because I know I shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I don't know, it's kind of difficult because at the same time I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
So it can be it's easy to do it because it's like a habit. It's like a self-taught behavior. Mm-hmm. But ever since I've been going to counseling, and I'm not sponsored by BetterHelp, I don't really like them actually.
But they do help.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's more of it's a lot easier because I've done it so many times, but it's also harder because I'm aware that I shouldn't be doing that, and that's not the behavior that I want to have actually. So
now, as people that are shelling themselves, like you said, what's your advice to them on how to better come out and be more vulnerable to other people?
I think what kind of helped me was the thought and the fact that people are all insecure. And I think I kind of have this example in class, right? I'm sitting there minding my business and I'm confused about something. More than likely everybody else is confused, right? And everybody's just waiting for that one person or even themselves to muster up the courage to ask, hey, what is going on? I have no clue what you're talking about. So I guess just it's difficult because in my experience, I am very self-aware. So I'm aware that I'm anxious and I'm aware that I'm uncomfortable with doing a lot of things. But because I'm aware of that, I also try to self-medicate by pushing myself to do those things. But I guess the best thing that I could advise anybody who is feeling that way is just be honest with yourself and have confidence in your anxiety because everybody's feeling the same way.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it just takes one person to allow everybody else to open up to. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've noticed that with a lot of different situations where like, you know, people are like, you know, secluded and everything. And then I'm like, well, I don't understand what's going on. Does anybody else feel the same way? And then everybody feels comfortable and more confident in, you know, just being honest with themselves. So, yeah.
That's cute.
Now, anything else? Any other final words or?
Other than the fact that it's snowing right now and we just saw 2 beautiful dogs, just thank you guys for this opportunity. And I hope a lot of other people come in and have their own opinions. So.
Thank you. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is the biggest obstacle that you overcame?
I think that I would probably be a very interesting person to be on this podcast because I've had so many obstacles. So it's hard to pick one. I could pick the most recent. I could pick the oldest one. Like, I don't know exactly where to start. I came from a very troubled family. There's a lot of trauma in there. My dad was abused his whole life, so then he abused us our whole lives until we moved out. I've had family members. So my mom came from like a broken family, and her mom remarried. Both of her parents did, but her mom remarried someone like 20 years before I was born, or like 15. And so I grew up with him like as my grandfather, but he's not like blood related, but he ended up assaulting me, like raping me when I was 10. That was something that was like obviously horrible. I don't have to explain how that's horrible, but I think that like there was a few years where I really suppressed it. I never thought about it after, because like I told my family like something happened, and so they divorced. I never saw him again, which was amazing. My grandma and my mom really believed me immediately, which was incredible. I'll always love them for that.
Good.
And but I like really after that I just kind of repressed it, and I didn't even know that like really happened to me until I was 15. I was sophomore year, and this guy named I hope you're listening, I hate you. He, in one of my classes, we had a sub, and he sat next to me. He was like he always kept trying to get my number. He would like slide me his number, and I'd slide it back. Because I'm barely interested in men, especially not football players. And he like, there was a sub, I don't remember if I said that, the lights were out, and he like started like touching me, and his friends were all like laughing. And so that like brought back the memory. So I had this whole like crisis my sophomore year of like, oh shit, like this did happen to me when I was 10. And so he ended up getting suspended for like 2 days, and his friends all covered for him, but administration believed me, which was really awesome again. And so hopefully he learned from that, but I have no idea. But that brought back like so many things. And then I had like a really traumatic relationship in my junior year, and that actually kind of like sent me to a mental hospital. But I only stayed 72 hours. It wasn't a good experience. I advocated myself to be sent there because I thought that if I was sent there, my family would start understanding that this is a real issue. It's not just something that I can like sweep under the rug and they can just pretend it doesn't exist. Like I am going through, like I need help. And it didn't help me at all. It actually traumatized me further. I went to a place that ended up like 3 years later was like temporarily shut down or something because someone, like one of the people working there was like assaulting clients. So it was not a good place, but my school sent me there. And so having to like understand that, and then I never really fully was able to overcome it until like 2 years ago because I just kept getting into really, really abusive relationships, like horrible men that were being horrible to me, like hitting me, sexually assaulting me, like all these things, and I thought it was normal. And like my mom just was able to like get out of her abusive marriage, so me and her were living by ourselves in a condo, and so she would kind of witness like him screaming at me and him doing things like manipulating me, and she thought it was normal too. Like she would be like, I heard him yelling at you for like 3 hours, like are you okay? But she wouldn't understand that that is like not acceptable. So it was something that I had to really advocate for myself. Like I deserve better, and so does my mom, and she may never fully understand like because she went through, like, her father was almost like, she always says she married her dad. And so, like, the generational trauma of, like, this is how you were treated, so that's what you think is normal. So then your kids grow up in that kind of environment and then they think it's normal. So it just keeps going and going and trying to break that cycle. But sophomore year of college, I dated someone who I had known in high school, who was actually the boyfriend that sent me to the mental hospital. It was a bad decision, okay? Do not judge me, viewers, okay? I made a mistake. I trusted someone that I had hoped was a good person deep down, but I don't think he had the ability to have empathy, and I just did not know how to recognize that still. And so I ended up having to get a restraining order on him, which is now called a personal protection order.
Crazy.
And it was a very lengthy process. You know, it's 3 hours to fill out the paperwork. And that it's interesting because he didn't start stalking me until a year after we broke up, like an entire year. And so, yeah, weird. And it was like, I think what happened is he had it in his head that I would break up with him, whatever, he could quote unquote grow and then come back and I would just accept him. So when he started trying to reach out to me, I was like, literally never talk to me again. Goodbye. You should have the sense to not do, you were horrible to me. Yeah. And so I blocked him. So then he started sending me letters, very threatening, very long letters. After the 4th letter, he started sending me voicemails. And that's when I was like, this is escalating. I don't know, I'm getting scared. Like, he sent me a voice memo of him. And so I did the 3-hour paperwork in the summer. It was August of this year, 2023. And I won immediately. Like, the judge in less than 24 hours was like, oh yeah, you've shown me enough evidence, you deserve this. Yes. But the thing is, the law, which I understand, is that even if the judge automatically is like, you have enough evidence, the person who you're getting it against can still be like, no, let's go to court and I can fight this. So if you Google it, you're only supposed to be able to do that if the person was lying. But I don't think he I don't think he's researched anything. I think the police called him and said, you can't talk to this person, or you'll, like, go to jail, basically. And he was like, oh, I'm immediately going to fill out the paperwork. So my paperwork was like 8 pages of just me writing stuff and like all the pictures and like voicemails and stuff. And he sent a half a page of being like, I'm a good person. And in the evidence that he wrote for that PPO, he wrote like something like, I don't kill bugs, I take them outside. And it was like, that, so you think that means that you don't deserve a PPO because you stalked your ex-girlfriend?
He's cleared. He's justified now,
He doesn't kill bugs, guys. Are you listening to that?
But you're not a bug, so.
I know, literally. And so he took us to court. Very horrible. My mom was there to support me. My grandma waited outside the courtroom because I didn't want her to hear all the shit. Like, I had to play the voicemails. And so I didn't want her to go through that. She's too precious. And he brought his mom, who wore flip-flops, to the court. And, and he looked very disheveled. He didn't look good. I'll say that. But I knew that, like, if he, like, I feel like there was false hope that he really thought that he could maybe, like, be like, I won't ever talk to her again, guys. Like, don't give me a PPO. But also, like, I think that it was mainly motivated to get me to see him. Like, he wanted to see me. Yeah. And, like, all the letters were him basically, like, anything that he could do, like, a last-ditch effort to, like, get me to see him. Like, he kept saying, like, in the last letter he sent, he was like, you deserve for me to read you what I wrote. Like, you meet up with me and I'll read you the letters. I was like, are you fucking I've already read the letters and I don't care.
You sent them to me.
And it was interesting because, like, I knew that he was abusing me in the relationship. I broke up with him because after not even 9 months, because I was like, I know what this is. I've seen it before. And I didn't realize, like, the extent to how horrible he was until he started sending me those letters. Like, the first letter he sent, he admitted to cheating on me. And he admitted to a bunch of things that he's done in his life that had nothing to do with me. Like, everything, he used me like I was a priest, like a confessional. And so he told me traumatizing things about and he told me how he cheated on me with someone that I was friends with and he was friends with. So I'm going to shout out. So he admitted that he cheated on me multiple times. I was just, that shocked me, you know? And you think that, like, I've been in I've dated 2 men who traumatized me, one of them twice. And so 3 relationships that all about, like every time it was about 9 months. I don't know if that's some kind of thing. Like I know the 3-month rule is a thing. Maybe there's 9 months. I don't know. And it's just like the fact that he cheated on me like shook me. I was like, I had no idea. I could have gone my whole life without knowing this. Why did he have to do this? Like thinking back of all these like red flags, I'm like, oh, it's because he was cheating on me. Like I remember one time he got in my car and like the visor was down in the passenger seat, and I'm a short girl. You guys can't see me. I'm 5 feet. And so sometimes the sun will shine through the passengers. I have to flip it down. And also I'm allowed to have friends in my car. But he was literally like freaking out. He's like, who is in your car? Who is? And I was like, why is this a big, like the thing was down. What are you talking about? And I think that was because, you know, like the projection of like he is cheating on me, so he thinks I would be capable of that, but I would never. And so like it's really interesting because so he sent me 4 letters. The first one I lost in a pile of mail, so I missed the letter where he confessed about the things he did in general. He told me about, and I had no idea about that. And like cheating on me is blah blah blah, all that stuff. And drugs that I didn't know about, like things like that. I never even saw that letter. I just got the other ones. And I was like, there is something I'm missing because he keeps talking about how he wants to read that letter to me. I'm like, what do you want to read about? Like, I was confused. Yeah. And so literally the court date was on a Monday. That Thursday beforehand, I found it. Just like on chance. So when I gave her like all the 3 hour, like I did the paperwork, I never even included that letter because I didn't know it existed. And she still was like, yeah, you deserve it 100%. Yeah. And when I did, like, that's when I read it. So it was right before the court date. I was shocked. Like, I was shook to my core because I did not realize that there was, like, some I also didn't realize that he was cheating on me. I didn't realize he was doing drugs. And I didn't know that. Yeah. And so I come to court, and I'm just thinking, this idiot, like, does he not think I'm going to play the voicemails? Does he not think I'm going to show the letters? And I truly don't think he did. His only defense that entire 3 hour, also 3 hour, it was like 3.5 court session, was just him being like, I'm a good person. I will never, he literally said, like, I swear I'll never talk to her again. Just don't give me the PPO. And the judge was amazing. She let me talk as much as I wanted, and she was very respectful. Mm-hmm. At the end, after we both were finished talking, she kind of reamed him. All she had to do was define the legal terms of this is what stalking is, this is what harassing is. And it was literally like he did everything to a T. Like, literally every single point he hit. And so when I played the voicemails, I kind of blacked out. Like, I don't really remember the voicemail playing, but I remember after I played it, like, I turned away so I didn't have to face him. And then I remember turning back and just, like, this relief. Because the whole time I was, like, listening to that voicemail traumatized me. And so having to play it in front of my mom, in front of the judge, in front of him, in front of his mom, it was, I knew it was going to be traumatic. So, like, I literally blacked out. Right. And then, afterwards, the relief, it was like, oh, yeah, I can do this now. The worst part's over. So I gave the best fucking testimony. Mm-hmm. And people don't know this about PPOs, or I'm assuming they don't, because I didn't know. But it's a straight-up court case. Like, it's you against that other person. And both of you are, like, lawyers. Like, you interview the person, you can ask them anything you want, even if it's not related, you can ask them anything. Uh-huh. And it's like they can interview you, and it's stressful, and it's horrible, especially when it's someone who has abused you and done all those things. And I knew going in that, I said this before, like, he only wanted to see me. So I decided, like, I was never going to look at him. I'm not going to look at him. I'm not going to look at his mom. And I told my mom that. I would literally, like, beforehand, I drilled her. I was like, you are not allowed to look in their direction. Do not give them eye contact. Don't even look at their shoes like she did. My grandma actually saw when they walked in. My grandma told us after she was wearing flip-flops. Who wears flip-flops to a court case? But, I know that. I just thought that was crazy. Right. But, so, oh, yeah. So he wanted me to, so I never looked at him. And so I don't even know. Like, when I think back to that, like that day in August, I can't see his face, which is amazing. I did see him out of the corner of my eye a lot. I heard his voice, obviously, so I know what he was like wearing. But I'm proud of myself that I did that, because he didn't get the satisfaction. And obviously she reinstated it. There was nothing he could have said or done, because if the only way that he could have taken away the PPO was if I was lying. And I had the evidence, like, even, like, I showed her beforehand, like, these are pictures of the letters. There's no way that I can't lie about that. So the judge was amazing, and I was uncomfortable talking about the things that he wrote in the letters. Like, I didn't want to. So I kind of was beating around the bush. The judge was like, I understand, like, I get what you're saying, and like how you don't want to say certain words. Let me read the letters. So I was like, perfect, bitch. So I give her all the letters, and she's sitting there reading them, and the four of us in that courtroom are just silent. And I'm just like, yep. I keep looking at my mom for encouragement. She was amazing. God bless you, Mom. Because she, like, without being able to look at her, I would have been crying the whole time. But I did start crying when she started talking, and I could tell that I was going to win, and it was just the relief of it all. And I think it's an interesting thing that I'll add is, like, she was saying that she understands, like, he's younger than me, like, by a year and a half. Like, he skipped a grade, so he was in my grade in high school, but he was younger than me. And she was saying, like, I know you're young, people make mistakes. She was trying to, like, say you can change and be a better person. And she was maybe giving him the benefit of doubt of, like, maybe you were just trying to reconnect with someone. You wanted, because he was using, like, a lot of rhetoric that's, like, AA stuff, like alcoholic, like the things that they say when you're going through that program. And she was saying, like, I understand that maybe you're trying to, I don't remember what the step is called, but where you go back, amends, you make amends with people. And she said, but that is not on you anymore. That is not what you're gonna do. If this person, if Emmy ever wants to talk to you, she will reach out to you. Never reach out to her again. Like, don't do that.
Right.
And because the PP only lasts a year, I can renew it, which I probably will. But, and I started looking here. I was like, I'm never gonna do that. And so she pointed out, she's looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm just trying to make. And I started laughing a little bit. And she's like, I'm just trying to make the point that don't reach out to her. If anything, she will reach out to you, but she probably won't, because I can tell that she's looking at me like she won't. And I was like, yeah, she's solid. But that was probably, and it's weird because, like, it didn't happen that long ago, but it also feels like it was, like, centuries ago. Like, it was such a weird experience, and I spent the whole rest of the day, because it was like a morning thing, just like, this might sound a little psychotic. I was just staring. Like, I was just, like, going over it in my head, and I was trying to not make it be like a PTSD thing, because I do have that. And so it's like your brain goes over these memories and, like, kind of codes them into a traumatic way. So I was trying to get myself not to do that. And so I was really, like, struggling that whole day, that whole week. And then school started. It was, like, right before school started. And so it was just a stressful time. I ended up, I have an autoimmune disorder. And so it ended up flaring up, like, really bad. So, like, the first day of school, I had, like, this really big rash around my eyes. Like, my eyes were just puffy. Like, I had an allergic reaction. And it just kept happening, like, every week. Yeah. So I kept getting steroid shots, but you could only do that a certain amount of times.
Right.
So it was, like, the stress manifest, like, physically for me. But I think that this was a way to kind of, like, I didn't get justice for being raped at 10 years old. And when I look at 10-year-olds, like, they're babies. And I just cannot believe that a grown-ass man with gray hair in his 70s was looking at a 10-year-old and did that. And I was his fucking granddaughter. Like, I can't believe that. But I didn't get justice for that. I didn't really fully get justice for that guy in my class. I mean, he got, like, 2 days suspended, so maybe blah, blah, blah. But, like, I had to stay in that class with him the rest of the semester. It was weird, and everyone knew because they interviewed all of his friends, and all of his friends stuck up for him. I ended up, like, shaving my head that year. So, like, I definitely went through a lot. And then I didn't really get justice for the whole sending me to the mental hospital thing, and then the boyfriend I had after that. And then, so this was kind of, like, closing the chapter for everything that's happened before. I'm turning 22 next week,
Congrats.
which I can't believe. How is it December? But I, you know, like, 21 before was all about everyone else. It was trauma, it was abuse, it was torture. But the rest of my life, especially my 20s, is just going to be about me.
As it should.
As it should.
As it fucking should.
I didn't really get a childhood. I didn't get parents who took care of me. I'm learning to take care of myself. And I'm so proud of myself. Like, I knew like, as soon as I left the courtroom, that was going to be a core memory. Like, I was so amazing. I was, I've never been proud of myself. I'm not someone who's, like, very, very confident, but I killed it. Like, I did so good, and I stood up for myself, and I won, obviously, but winning isn't all of it. You know, I said everything I needed to say. I got it out of my system, and I never have to deal with him again. So, like, I know that I never have to interact with those people, and I can choose who's in my life now. Yeah. And that's really incredible of, like, I know all the red flags now, and I feel like I can really, like, I have tried dating a little bit since we broke up, like, almost like a year and a half ago, I guess. But every time I see a red flag, I just walk away. I don't try to, like, deal with, there's no, like, going back and forth and trying to change a person. Yeah. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Exactly. And I know that now. Yeah. And so being able to walk away from red flags is something that I'm very proud of myself too. And also, like, just being single. I haven't, after New Year's, I will have not gone on a date in a year. And that was my goal. I said I don't want to date anyone for a fucking year because I'm tired of these fucking people.
Take the time to yourself.
Yeah, and it was so beneficial. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I was dating someone during that court case. I don't know, but I'm glad that I wasn't. And it's so nice to be able to focus on myself. And I know, like, my friends are in some relationships and, you know, that are healthy. I don't have healthy relationships with my family. I don't have a married couple I can look to and be like, this is my goal. But I understand that it's 100% possible to have a healthy relationship and to sustain that. Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily know what that looks like. So until I know that I'm fully capable of that, it's okay to be single. And I need to focus on myself. And I have some friends that'll be like, let's, like, get you to a bar. Let's do a makeover. And it's like, I don't want to change myself. Yeah. I don't want to, like, have to go out there. If something happens, it'll happen naturally. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's probably all the obstacles I overcame. I kind of, because it was hard. I didn't know where to start, you know? But
sounds like I think that's wipeout course.
Yeah. So that's my life, and now all these strangers know my personal business. No, I could also, like, because I'd never said the name of the boyfriend I dated after first time, just because he did stalk me, and he was very violent, and so I don't want to even say his name. Yeah. But I should have gotten a PPO against him. I was 18 at the time. I was a lot more naive, or 17 to 18, like, turning 18, and I didn't really know about how it works. It was also, like, COVID started, like, right after we broke up. Like, I think I broke up with him the week before, like, COVID started, like that day where we were supposed to be out of school for 2 weeks or something. And I wish I did. And he sent me, like, a link to Google Docs of, like, diaries that he wrote. And, like, so much evidence was in that. Like, I could have gotten him to go to jail. Like, he admitted to a lot of stuff. And, like, really admitted. Like, he didn't just say I did this. Like, he talked about how it made him feel and stuff.
Imagine being aware and, like, knowing of all the stuff that you did and then still thinking you deserve, like, forgiveness and a good life. I do psychology, like, for my major, and my minor's in criminal justice. But, like, learning about things, it's so interesting. Like, human behavior just fascinates me, and I think I have a good history to, like, know how to interact. I want to work with survivors in the criminal justice system. So I'm going into social work for my master's. So I have 2 years. I graduate in May, and then 2 years for my master's. And I just think that I'm going to be able to use everything that's happened to me as a way to help other people. And I think that, like, when I was going through it, like, when you're in all the shit and you hear the expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, it pisses you off. I mean, it pissed me off. I'd be like, fuck you. I don't deserve to go through this just so that I can be stronger at the end. Like, that's not fair. Exactly. But now that I've been able to have some space from it all and, like, not being traumatized every day, it does. And that sucks to say, because if my past self heard me say that, she'd be so fucking pissed. She'd be like, Emmy, come on. Like, you've been through this shit, you know that sucks. But it's true. And a way to use that to help other people, I think, makes me so much so much more passionate about what I'm going to do. And I think that when you're going into therapy, you're going to work with survivors, you need that passion. And
I don't think it'll ever run out. Like, it's definitely never, like, I'm not going to be 40 and be like, I'm just going to forget about everything that happened. I'm going to do something else. No. Like, that's definitely not going to happen.
You have that sympathy and that experience
yes.
going through it yourself to be able to help the people, you know,
and
do the same thing.
I learned in psychology class, shout out to biopsych, that your amygdala has to do a lot with, well, obviously, it has to do with emotions. Mm-hmm. So anything that has a strong emotion, anger, fear, happiness, like extreme happiness, anger, that's your amygdala. And people who are antisocial personality disorder, so people who used to be referred to as sociopaths, their amygdala doesn't really work. So they don't feel the emotions, but their prefrontal cortex pretty much is intact. So they understand them, but they don't feel them. So they can use that to manipulate people, to whatever, you know, pretty self-explanatory from this point. And so it's interesting because I've been around so many fucking people that don't have empathy. My brother, my dad, that grandpa, my ex-boyfriends, which is 2 people, probably more. It's just like I've seen it a lot, and I think I do have very strong empathy. I think that that's just like anyone who has traumatic parents, like a traumatic childhood, and their parents are abusing them, you have to walk on eggshells. Like, you have to be aware of what other people are feeling so you know what to do. And I think that that kind of gave me like a strong sense of empathy, and I think that something like that is what draws people. And I spent a lot of time wondering, why do I keep going after these men, even though there's only 2, that don't have empathy, that are horrible to me? And I started blaming myself, and I think that that was a big obstacle to overcome, of like, maybe the shit I went through and the damage, like how damaged I was, attracted these people. It wasn't necessarily me going out and finding the worst type of people. It was the worst type of people looking for the most vulnerable people. Right. And I was definitely one of them. And so I think that that's something that I would like to say, just in case anyone out there listening. I keep forgetting this is a podcast, but I'm just talking to Nina. But I think that that's something to think about, because I don't know. There's so much to deal with, and I have family members that don't really understand stuff. They'll always be like, are you over it? And it's, you know, like, and not in a bad way. They'll just be like, have you moved on? Like my grandma, who was amazing and believed me, she sometimes will be like, I know we don't talk about it because it's hard to talk about, but have you been able to like move on from this? And I always tell her the same thing, is like, I have healed a lot from that experience, especially. It's been 12 years, but it's never going to be something that I can forget or something that I can undo. It's in my brain, it's in my nervous system. My body will always remember it, but I'm in the best place I've ever been, and I see myself only going up. So I think you could, like, I tell her, like, you could say that I have moved on, but I'll never forget. And I think that it's important not to forget, because especially when I'm going to be working with survivors, which I'm thinking about doing, like, that's my goal, is that it's never, people don't deserve forgiveness. You don't need to forgive other people to be happy, but you do need to let go of that anger. Yeah. And so during COVID, I spent a lot of time trying to release the anger, and then I healed so much in that time, but then I went right back to like that asshole. I don't know why I did that. That was a mistake. Yeah. And however, I think that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't fully understand the red flags I need to look for. I wouldn't be able to fully move on. I think the court case was really the ending of the chapter, finally finishing it, instead of just kind of ruminating in the aftermath. And I'm grateful that I was able to do that. Like, I'm not grateful that he stalked me. But I'm not necessarily grateful that I had to go through the court case, but I'm just grateful for everything I've learned, like myself. I'm grateful for myself. Yeah. And that's something that I never thought I'd say. I never had confidence. I didn't even, like, I still can barely take photos of myself because just looking at myself on a camera is so uncomfortable to me. But being like that pride I have is just so incredible. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm getting to where most people are, and a lot of people who know me besides everyone listening, don't know all of this stuff about me. Like, I didn't even tell all my friends that he was stalking me. I didn't tell my friends that I had a PPO. Like, people don't really know that, but it's still something that's there. And some people know, like my close friends do, but I don't think I hold it with me every day like I used to. I think I found a way to let go of the anger fully and really just kind of exist and not have to like think about it every day. I think I've really healed like the PTSD aspect of like going over the event over and over and over and over again and feeling like you did when you were there. And I still have that for sure. Like throughout my whole life, I have an event from like every year that kind of sticks in my head. But I found better coping skills. I think that's something that also pissed me off a lot when I was like going through it. Is like people saying you need to find coping skills. I was like, fuck you. Like that's hard. Like what do you mean? Yeah. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna help it go away. But the truth is that they do help. Yeah. And I will say, like, you really do need to find coping skills. Yeah. And it's not easy. And it's not gonna be something that happens overnight. It's like therapy. Even if you're just by yourself doing it, even if you're not seeing a therapist, you're doing therapy tactics of like getting yourself to move on and heal and let go of things, but also not trying to forget them. I think I spent a lot of time trying to repress memories, being like, don't think about them, whatever. But instead letting yourself think about them, understanding them, giving yourself empathy of like, I was literally 6 when I'm thinking about this memory, and I'm like hating myself for something I did when I was 6. It's not a big deal. Even like when I was 16, like I'm still a child then. Like I'm barely an adult now. And to give yourself just like, that happened, and I'm going to learn from it. I'll take the lesson, but I'm not going to hold on to the memory.
Right.
And I think that's important too.
It's a part of your life, but it's not who you are.
Yes.
Right.
That's exactly what I would say.
No, you can't live the rest of your life based on what happened to you in your past.
Yeah. And it's like I'm not even... Like, I have an autoimmune disorder, so I am scared that maybe I won't live the longest life. That's okay, though. And all I want now is just, even if I'm halfway through the book of my life, and I've passed these chapters, I want the next half to be great. And so if I have, 3/4 more, that's awesome. If I only have half more, that's awesome, too, because I'm going to do great things with that. And I think that that's something that I would say to people is just focus on what you can control and like what you can do now and moving forward, learning from things, but don't hold them with you. Let them go and learn from them, things like that. That's what I would say.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of who you've become.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've done,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everything. I'm really happy you're here with us.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. This was a fun little therapy thing. Like, this is a good therapy session.
I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm glad you let everything
Yeah,
out.
you guys should keep doing this. This is awesome.